take on developers, take on entrepreneurs, and bring those together.
And ideally, if a BYU student wants to have a business opportunity handed to them that they can just take out, we want to have that for everyone.
Work with the end user in every single step.
Welcome to the Tech Transfer Podcast. I'm Dave Brown. I'm here with Justin Maxwell, a former employee of our office who's doing some interesting things. So Justin, you want to introduce yourself? How did you get involved with Tech Transfer?
My name is Justin, and how did I get involved with Tech Transfer? It's actually a really funny story because I was going to a career fair last year. Wasn't looking for a job at the moment, but I wanted to see what there was in the future if I wanted to get a new job. And then I found Bennett standing there. I'm like, what are you doing here? I was like, what is Tech Transfer? I've never heard of it before. And we talked about it for a while. I'm like, you hiring? They're like, no, probably not for a few months. Cool.
Yeah, and see, this is an example. We fly under the radar, but Bennett was getting us out there, and here it is paying off.
Yeah, it was really funny. So I emailed them like, hey, if you have any job stuff, let me know. And she's like, all right, come on in. We'll talk about it, see what we can do. We might need a project manager in the next few months. I'm like, okay, let me know. And then I get an email from you the next day, and you're like, hey, come on in. Let's talk about project management. Like,
yeah,
okay, sounds good. And I come in, and you're like, we need you to do this. You want to do it? Like, what?
Yeah. Well, you showed up just at a time when I was kind of overwhelmed with some projects. We were starting some software development we hadn't done before.
Yeah.
So just having someone to hand off to was fantastic. So, and you did a great job. And how long did you work at Tech Transfer?
About 8 months, 8 or 9 months, I think.
Yeah. So pretty much the school year, I think.
Yeah.
And so why project management, and how did that fit in with Tech Transfer?
So project management comes from a lot of introspection, reflection, thinking about what I really want to do and what I'm good at. The more I think about my skill set and what I enjoy doing, when I really get in the zone, it is a form of project or product management. And so my other job was a marketing intern and previously a video and audio technician. And so that stuff I enjoyed, but I wanted to shift out of that more into the project management sphere. And so I just started looking for that, and that's when I came upon Tech Transfer. And the reason I really stuck was because of two big reasons. One was the environment. I met with both you and Bennett, and you're talking about how you like to fail forward fast.
Absolutely.
And I love that because it means you get to iterate, test, try, and you don't get reprimanded for failing. It's called, good job, now let's do better.
Yep.
I've worked in places where there's a lot of bureaucracy and it takes time to get things done, and you have to do it right the first time, and it's a little painstaking. Whereas here I was like, great, this is awesome. We can go and do stuff. And so that was one half that I really enjoyed. The other was...
Well, let me just say that is a heartwarming part of the story right there, Justin, because we talk about type 1 and type 2 mistakes. And I think people become bureaucratic because they fall in love with the process, but we're in love with outcomes. So however we get there is great.
Yeah, so the other reason I wanted to work here is because it was relevant and seemed more real world. Because Tech Transfer, as I came to understand it, was the bridge in between the college, university, researchers, professors, and the real world market application and commercialization. So is that bridge in between that I found that was very relevant and is technology related, which I thoroughly enjoy. And so I wanted to be there and experience it. I didn't feel confident enough in my ability to be an entrepreneur, so I didn't want to full send that. But I figured I could be there in the midst of it and learn from the entrepreneurs. So it kind of fit both worlds well.
Yeah, and it is a very entrepreneurial environment. You're very entrepreneurial. But no, that's great. I feel like what we're doing is very real world, like real world transactions. So any experience that a student wants could potentially happen there. So great. And then you didn't just do, initially we were thinking project management, which you did, and it was great. But then you branched into other things that just needed to be done, like some AI tools you create. So tell us about that.
I guess it wasn't entirely an AI tool. I mainly built this Python automation script that integrated an AI tool into it to accomplish this very menial task we were working on. Because we realized, Wilson's one of my coworkers. I love Wilson. He's so great, so many great ideas, and so ambitious. And we're like, oh my gosh, we need to improve the website.
Yes.
Because there's about 700 technologies sitting there with very limited information. And the titles of the technology are about 15 words of words.
They're kind of like academic publication titles, where they're long and very technical.
You read the word once in a dictionary, you never read it again in your life.
Yeah.
And that was all the information that these people had when they come onto the website. And so we thought, if we want to bring more people to Tech Transfer to get more technologies developed and licensed, we need to make it so that they understand at least somewhat what the technology is, so that they can come in, learn more about it, and then license it. And so we worked together for a month or so to figure out how can we improve what information's on it, how does the sell sheet look like, how do we put it on the website, what should it look like, how can we have a call to action. And it took a lot of iteration of going back to you and Bennett and saying, this is what we want, this is what we think, and just really improving it until we figured out what it should look like and contain. And then it was, okay, now let's go and do it. And so at first we decided to do it manually by hand, all 700 pages, which was a terrible idea.
You'd still be doing it.
Yeah, we would be doing it through the summer probably.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I can't do this. So I knew enough Python to where I could experiment with things. I had a roommate who had done automation. And so I sat down and like, Kaz, I need your help. This is what we want to do. What resources do I have available where I can use? And he's like, all right, go use this and this and this, and started building it, and then worked this whole this automation script that took the disclosure, put in this AI system to generate this report, and then it took the report and created a sell sheet PDF and exported it, and then uploaded that to the website, and then took the information and then inserted it into the website and published it, and then let me know all the errors so I can go back and fix those afterwards. And it turned out to be this really huge and awesome experience to learn how to do it, and then turned out super helpful. So now we have 400 of the technologies done. Now we're just waiting to OCR the rest of them, stick them on there.
Yeah, and those are the most recent 400. So, and like I say, the outcome is what we care about, and you can show measurably increased traffic to the website, increased people reaching out about technologies because of the work. So, great job doing it. And I think a lot of your focus was improving the user experience for entrepreneurs who visit the website.
Yes.
To make, like you say, make the technologies more understandable. And you did some things like you make it so contacting one of us when you're looking at something is way easier.
Yep.
And so really great resourceful improvement. And it's just, we're always trying to fix little bottlenecks in the office, and you found one and fixed it. So
it was
thank
a
you for
good,
doing
fun
that.
one. It was a fun one. Little painstaking. I want to bang my head on a wall when I couldn't figure it out, but it was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've seen Tech Transfer and done a bunch of interesting things. What do people not understand about University Tech Transfer?
First of all, that it exists.
Right. Yeah.
I think that is the biggest one. Most people I talk to say, what's Tech Transfer? I'm like, oh.
Yeah, it's so funny because when you tell people what we do, everyone loves it. They love the idea of taking these academic inventions and getting them out in the marketplace, but people don't know we exist mostly.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people who work on these projects, like students that are researchers, and then they don't realize that there's actually so much more that can go into it, and so much more that can happen after they finish the project. Yeah. And so when I talk to people, what really interests them is realizing that professors and students create things, they invent things that are really cool, but then they just sit there in the university. And so we take that and we try and connect that with entrepreneurs to come and take that product, that thing that you worked on, invented, and take it to market, commercialize it, and actually affect the industry and people's lives. And so I think that is the coolest part that most people don't understand, that I wish we could tell everyone about. If we could just go on the PA and be like, hello, my name is Justin, I work for Tech Transfer. Or if we can get you on a devotional, President Reese, if you're listening, get Dave Brown out there on a Tuesday devotional. Once fall comes along, There
we go. Well, and you also sent, we got a lot of referrals of employees from other student employees. So you sent Jaden our way, who's working as a vibe coder. So for professors who don't think of themselves as inventors, who maybe are publishing, but just feel like I'm not a technical person, I'm in humanities or some like non-STEM field, we have students like Jaden who can now take their idea and actually make the software code so there is a product. So we hope that gets the reach out there. Maybe people will be a little more aware because of that. So
part of what students understand about Tech Transfer is they can get involved today. Before I came to Tech Transfer, I was afraid of being entrepreneurial and failing and doing things and wasting a bunch of money and time because I'm poor. Yeah. But when I came to understand Tech Transfer, Carter, the guy who is licensing the CNI project, CNI phone, he isn't paying anything out front to develop it, actually. Right. Tech Transfer is paying L&L to develop it, and then we're actually working with him to develop it as good as we can and to validate the market at the same time to no upfront cost to Carter, which is kind of crazy. You can start building your business for $0, but time is the only thing you're spending, which I think is a really great opportunity for a lot of people to which just come in here and see what you can find. You won't have to spend anything.
Yeah, so the deal, and we've tried to do a deal that just makes a lot of sense for students, is typically we'll take a modest amount of equity and a royalty from the licensee, the student entrepreneur. And so what that means is you're never going to pay the university anything unless you're making money. And so at that point, if you're paying some little percentage of your revenue, you don't mind too much. And then in the meantime, we want to get as close as we can to handing someone a revenue generating product. So that's what with software, that's why we're getting so close to the market. And ideally, if a BYU student wants to have a business opportunity handed to them that they can just take out, we want to have that for everyone. So yeah. What are some other ways that students interact with us, though? Like if they're not quite ready, what have you seen happen?
What have I seen happen? Taco Tuesday. Taco Tuesday happens.
Get on our email list.
Get on the
you
email
go to
list.
the main website at the bottom, sign up the email list. At a minimum, you'll get some tacos out of it.
You'll get a bunch of free tacos, bunch of connections, and you'll meet with other students. And there was a Tech Transfer entrepreneurship lunch. Are you guys still doing those?
Yeah, we've done. It was an experiment this past semester. We will do it again.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That was really great because I was a part of it as well as working for Tech Transfer and connected with a bunch of students. And we were all bouncing a bunch of ideas off each other that actually in that one, with one of my friends, we decided we should go validate this market real quick because if this product doesn't exist, we're going to go build it right now, which we found out it does. We're like, dang it.
Yeah, that's right.
But that was really great because right off the bat, we were starting to go do something with one of the people I met in there.
Yeah, the lunch group is so great because that's people who are really focused on entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
We have our email list. We have about 750 students on there, and they're great. They're all business focused, people who are definitely interested in tech transfer. So just associating with them, I think, is kind of a plus.
Yeah. That, and there was the business plan competition a couple months ago, which that was a lot of hard work and a lot of thinking and that was a long day. When we
did you guys get second place, your team?
We did place second.
Okay, good job.
Yeah, that was a really fun experience. So we all learned a lot, and we really figured out what we need to do better next time if we were to do it again and actually launch a business.
And it's not like the other competitions, right? Like this is open-ended. You have one of our technologies, make the most real thing you can with it.
Yeah.
And then in the end, present and show that you've created something.
Yeah, it's very open-ended. It was kind of hard, but then once you finally figured out where you're going, everything just rolled into that.
This fall for the competition, what I'm thinking right now is same sort of deal, except only for our licensees. Like we want the students, there are students licensing technologies from us. Let's have a competition for them. So if you want to be the part of the one in the fall, you might have to actually be doing a startup already, but we'll see. I don't know.
That'd be really interesting.
Oh, I skipped over, when you were doing project management for us, you were kind of shepherding software development through the process with a few different companies. So how did the project management part go? Like what did you end up doing with that?
What did I end up doing with that?
Like, so we have, for example, we're going to talk about L&L in a minute, but L&L is an outside software development company that we've worked with. You're working with them now.
Right.
So when you were on the tech transfer side of the table, what was the process of getting a technology through development with them?
So it started with just an initial meeting of getting the developers in a room with the inventor, the professors, saying, here's the idea, here's what we want to do, here's what we want to accomplish. And then they would sit there and ask a bunch of questions, and I'd take notes. And so it was a lot of facilitating to get both parties involved together and working together, and then kickstarting things to get things on track, on timeline, on a deadline. And so it was, I myself didn't do a lot of the problem solving per se with the software development. I more made sure that everything could happen so that they could go solve their problems and figure out how to develop it.
Yeah, and there are multiple constituencies. So you're working with the software development company, which they give us a great deal. And the reason we would work with them at all is to get a technology closer to market, so it's more likely to get licensed. So you're working with them, but there's also a professor in the mix who's our inventor. And then there's me, there's the tech transfer office. So you had to keep things on my radar too. So it's really coordinating all these different moving pieces, right?
Yeah, it's really learning how to communicate clearly and effectively with every single party all the time so that everyone's on the same page, which to me, I thoroughly enjoy. It is one thing that I love doing. I find that other people don't like communicating, writing emails, but I love making sure everything's on the same page and we're all going in the same direction and that everyone is clear on what's happening. So that's what I love about project management.
Okay, great. And so you move from that to where now you're working for L&L post your time at Tech Transfer. So let's talk about AI for a second. There are all these no-code platforms now. We're using Lovable and Bolt, and there are many others. Google has one that anyone can use called Fire or something. I've messed with it a little bit. So what's your take on no code versus code? It's better to know things. It's better to be a coder, but what are some of the trade-offs?
There are several trade-offs for both, and I found that I've experimented with both ends of the spectrum significantly. I've experimented with no code, pure AI, and for some things.
Well, and so if someone hasn't used that, like you can go on a platform like Lovable, and it's just like you're talking to ChatGPT. You say, I want software that does such and such, and then you see lines of code flying by. It just creates the thing.
Yeah, it's super simple. You can literally tell it, build me an app that keeps track of my food intake every single day and then track the calories. And then it builds it for you. And then it has a bunch of errors and you got to tell it, hey, fix the error, now fix that error.
Yeah.
Now do this thing. And it's super simple to use, but and you can build a lot of things super quickly, but if you don't understand actual code and how AI thinks and how code works and interacts with each other, then it's hard to get past that first initial build. It's very simple and bare bones. If you don't really understand it, it's hard to get farther. And so I've worked with that, and it's built me some cool things. But then I've tried to do just full custom stack. Why can't I just build it all on my own, see what happens? And it was actually the same project. I built one fully with AI, one without AI. Well, I guess one without the no-code AI.
Yeah.
And I was able to really learn how does each part work together, put that together so that talks to that and this works with that, and create this software. And that is awesome, but it takes a lot more time, a lot more understanding. And so I found as the more I do it, the more I fall into this happy medium of using the no-code AI platform to build the easy things, build the things that everyone else has already built, or take an open source repo and just stick it in there. And then to really understand how the code works and how AI talks to each other in itself, that has really helped me to develop that and build it out. And so really to have just in between is the best place to go, I would say.
So a lot of entrepreneurs are going to hear that. If you're a student entrepreneur and you're non-technical, you think, well, great, I'll use a no-code platform to create my minimum viable product, lean startup thinking, and I'll get that out there. And then if people like it, we can hire actual developers and completely recode it. Is that a reasonable way to proceed, or?
I would totally agree. That's what I'm doing on my own with this app I'm building for dance teachers and students, actually. And so I built it out over the past month or so, and now I'm sending it to all my dance friends. Hey, test this out, test this out, test this out. And they're like, great, here's a bunch of things to work on. And now I can go and improve that. And then once it's to the point where no one has any feedback, it's like, okay, now how do I actually make money off of this? And so I myself haven't actually been doing any of the coding. It's been super simple, low-level AI, no-code stuff. And I've already built things that people are already using and signing up for. And so it's actually super amazing what you can accomplish.
And you could maybe at this point convert it to an app and have it in the app store. Again, still completely no code, right?
Yeah.
So so that is amazing.
One thing I wish though that there was better is the Lovable and Bolt makes web apps, but they don't make app store apps. That's actually a different thing that I wish there's a better way to either convert those over to web or like phone app store stuff.
Yeah.
But
there's some apps that'll take your website, like your SaaS service, and make an app based on it. I don't know how good they are or if they're just for very simple things, but there might be something there. I've wondered the same thing, actually.
Yeah, I feel like there should be something better.
Yeah, I have a student coder right now we've created the no-code version, and then he's actually a coder, so he's making the app version.
Nice.
But you're right, there should be a shortcut there. So, and maybe there is.
Yeah.
But well, great. So now you're working at L&L. Like I say, we've worked with them. We've had them develop a couple software. We're on number 3 right there now, software projects with them. But tell us about L&L. Who are they? What do they do?
So L&L, let me pull out my notes. I talked with Jacob.
Well, and I had Jacob Zundell on here a couple months ago talking about the LMS tool that L&L developed. So he's a principal of the company, and that one turned out really well. So Jacob obviously part of it, and he had a co-founder, but they've grown and they're doing some interesting things.
So L&L, the way I've come to understand it is, I'm actually thinking in metaphors right now. I actually wrote down a couple metaphors for a couple different answers.
That's great.
It's we're building the railways so that we can cock these technologies or softwares or businesses into a loaded gun and shoot it and get it to business right away. We're trying to build the mechanisms of the gun so that when we bring new things on, we can easily get going and boom, be already in the business. And so Jacob's working on the side that creates the mechanism of the gun. So he's working on the sales, he's working on the marketing, working on building those things set up so that you don't have to start from scratch every time. Because that's what most startups have to do, is start from scratch and building sales and marketing all this. Right. Whereas if you just build up those teams beforehand or build up the systems, then you can easily put into business and just go. And I'm working on the side that loads the bullet into the chamber. I'm working on, okay, take this technology and software. How can we develop this out as fast as we can, as good as we can, so that we can get an entrepreneur on the project and then just go. And so I'm working on streamlining the process. How can we take on developers, take on entrepreneurs, and bring those together, and then make the bullet so that when the rails are ready, we just stick it in, cock it, and say, okay, fire when you're ready.
Yeah. And so from my perspective, L&L is kind of like a venture studio that is very heavy on software development.
Yes.
So they have expertise in software development, but they're actually creating companies. And there are several different ways to deal with the problem of the risk of creating an enterprise. One is just to be an entrepreneur, just create it from scratch every time. Like you say, that's kind of maybe a risky way. They're venture studios, and I would say like L&L, have a set format, a way they create companies, and so they can pound them out like you're saying. And then other ways, a BYU entrepreneurship through acquisition is very popular.
Yep.
So another thing to do is to acquire an existing business, and then maybe you do something different with it. Maybe you acquire a brick and mortar business and turn it into a software company, but the infrastructure is already there. So anyway, it's just interesting to see what people are doing. But this is definitely a studio model. What are some projects that you're working on with them, if you can talk about them?
Yeah, so right now we're working on 3, finishing one up, which is team-based learning. The other 2 we just acquired from you guys, Tech Transfer, is the C&I project and EdTech books, trying to make subdomains. The one that is really interesting is C&I phone.
You can tell us all about that. That's super interesting.
Yeah, this one you don't have to sign an NDA for.
Yeah.
It's an app that allows visually impaired people to navigate indoors. And so right now the way we're developing it is it will basically talk to you and say, walk forward 10 feet and turn left and then turn right and then go straight and then watch out, there's a tree, there's an overhanging branch, you should duck real quick, now jump to the left. Okay, not actually, that's
The action version.
It's an action version. Watch out, there's a monkey in the tree. That's probably anyways.
But it's to help people navigate in an unfamiliar space, who are blind, who can't, or vision impaired, and you're using a device they already have on them to help them navigate.
And so it's a really fun project, and our developer's done a great job in such a short time that I have connected him. Well, next Tuesday we're going up to I think it's just a blind school where they train blind people or something for teenagers up in Salt Lake, where all 3 of us, the entrepreneur, developer, and I, are going up to test our product with them. And we're going to walk them through it, how it works and everything, and have them test it out and give honest feedback so we can validate the market and then get feedback on how we can develop it better to actually solve their needs. And so it's very interesting because this model is fantastic. I love it because the CAS is able to focus on developing. Carter is focused on selling, finding businesses who want to buy and invest it. And I said, great, I'll find us people to test and validate this. And it's been really fun.
Yeah, so our student entrepreneurs here will often focus on technologies that are for students, like social network things, those sort of technologies. So you can launch a business around something you personally understand. But if it's going to be something different, something with maybe a good market opportunity like seeing iPhone, then you've got to talk to the actual end consumers, end users, because you're not them. And so the only way is to go up there and let people try it out. So fantastic that you guys are doing that. And then ultimately, is that a company that L&L launches? Will it be a subsidiary or something? Or is this something where BYU ends up licensing it to a startup company?
That is a good question. For seeing iPhone, I don't think that L&L will license that because the way Carter's taking it, he wants to keep.
Oh, actually, sorry, I should note that we actually have already assigned rights to that technology, so I know exactly what's happening with it.
It's all yours.
Never mind. Okay. But that's good. So that's one that we know will make a serious run at the market, and obviously it's like many of our technologies here, it's a make the world a better place technology. So I hope it's awesome and really helps people out. So you're doing project management still, just a different type. What are some tools that you like? What do you use these days?
The best tools, if I'm being completely honest, are a piece of paper and a whiteboard. I've experimented with all the project management dashboards and tools, ClickUp, this and that. They've never stuck. I've never been able to consistently use them. So I find that literally a piece of paper and a whiteboard solve all of my problems. When I was at Tech Transfer, I used a piece of paper to keep track of all the projects, and I put it there right on my desk. So every day I walk in and say, great, this is what I'm working on. That's what has to happen next. And then reminders who talk to this person. And then I just write down all my to-dos and all the things I have to do and organize it. And then if I have a whiteboard, which I do at home, and at iHub where L&L is set up, I just write down, okay, here's this project, here's what we're doing, and just visually, so every day you walk in, you see exactly what's going on and what's going to happen and what you're working on. And that is the simplest, most effective way I've found that everyone's on the same page, and you can point to exactly what you're doing and what's going on next. And it's so caveman, but I love it.
And I write things down. One thing I should do more of is sometimes I want to shift and focus on a different project. So I just take a picture of the whiteboard and take it down, or erase it. But what I should do is upload those pictures to ChatGPT and say, create a graphic of this or create a chart. That's very doable. So, okay. And then what, in terms of artificial intelligence and software coding that you're doing, what are some of those tools that you like?
What is my favorite AI tool right now?
When you were creating the software for our office, what was the AI tool?
I used a combination of 4 or 5 different ones. Depends on what phase I was on. I started out with Lovable and ChatGPT to create better prompts. Then it got to a point where I needed to get down to the bare bones and understand what was going on. So I hopped into Cursor, or I used Visual Studio Code and the GitHub Copilot agent.
Oh, yeah.
And so that was able to really talk more with the code and work with and understand what was going on exactly and what lines are going to what and talking to what. And so that was able to get more deep into the code. And those I thoroughly enjoyed because it requires you to really come to understand and figure out what's working and what's not working. But if I have a research question, Perplexity. I ask Perplexity everything.
Yeah, Perplexity is amazing.
I don't Google things anymore. I just Perplexity things.
Yeah.
I should coin that.
Well, and I like deep research on ChatGPT has been good for a while, but deep research on Grok from X has gotten awfully good too.
Has it really?
So yeah, so that's nice. But okay, great. And then you've worked with a lot of student innovators. You are a student innovator. What if students want to be entrepreneurial? What would you recommend they do right now?
If a student wants to be
Yeah, say you're a business student and you're like, I'm gonna, by the time I finish college, I'm gonna launch a startup company. What would you recommend for them?
If not now, when? I have all these ideas bouncing around and say, I'll get to it one day. You never will. I haven't until I said, okay, I'm going to sit down right now and start doing it. And it's not just that you should start doing it, but work with the end user in every single step. So when I started building that app for dancers and teachers, my first step wasn't to start building the app. It was talk to the teacher and coach, say, here's my idea. Would you use this? And she said, yes, I would. That would be actually really great. I'm like, awesome. Talked to a few more teachers, same thing. And then,
and that's an example where you're in the target demographic. So you must have had some idea of where you wanted to go with it, right?
Yes. I understood what they would be using it for because I would also use it and how to build it out to fit their needs. And since I was in the dance community for 2 years, I had a good idea of what that was.
Yeah.
And so with that, build with the end user with every single step. Don't build it and say, here, what do you think? Because then they'll just tear it down and you'll be like, wow, I wasted so much time.
Yeah.
But if you go every single step, say, here's my idea. Okay, now here's first iteration. And then here's the next thing. Then it's a humbling process.
Yeah.
It's not a, oh no, what are you going to think about my idea? It's now, oh no, what are you not telling me?
Right.
Please tear this down. Help me build this because it's for you. And so it's just, starting is the hardest thing. Going from idea to actually talking to somebody, getting over the fear that they might reject it. So what? Move on to the next idea.
Yeah. And at this point, so you've gone through that a bunch of times. At this point, how nervous are you to talk to people about your ideas?
If it's early in the morning, probably not terribly.
Yeah.
I went yesterday to dance team, was talking to a bunch of people, send them all, say, hey, be brutally honest. What do you think about this?
Yeah.
And next idea, I'll just talk to the person, say, here's what I'm doing. Do you think it's a good idea or not? If not, please tell me right now. Stop me now.
Yeah. It's just personal time savings, and it's not personal at any level.
I have time. It's important to me. I don't want to waste it.
Yeah, good. So if other universities out there could be thinking, well, we'd like some software development done too, we could talk to LNL or a studio sort of environment. How do they get in touch with you or LNL? Yeah.
You can connect with us through our emails, which are in the description of this video, or you can find us on LinkedIn. My name is Justin Maxwell. There's a nice, handsome photo of my face on the profile.
Yeah.
As well as Jacob Zundell, who is co-founder of LNL. And so reach out to us, tell us, here's what we're doing, here's what we think. We'll hop on a call and we'll meet with you.
Yeah, and do you have capacity to take on some more projects?
We do. We have capacity to take on a couple more projects right now.
Okay, great. All right, well, fantastic. Well, thanks, Justin. Really appreciate you coming on and talking about your work with Tech Transfer. Love what you're doing at LNL, so appreciate it.
It was really fun. Thank you.